Well, what is going on, YouTube? Welcome back to A Therapeutic Edge. Very nice to have you here today. I got something just very cool on the table today. This actually belongs to my lovely wife. Some of you know her as Women Carry Knives. This is the EZC Buttonlock. And the EZC is a knife that Monterey Bay Knives has been making for a long time. They have a whole bunch of different varieties. This one came out a little while ago. We saw it drop. At the time, we didn't have the wherewithal or the capacity to get one, but we visited them a few weeks ago, and they had one. And so she got herself one, which, right on. This is a fantastically cool little knife. It is a Ray Laconico design, as you can see. It is basically the same, slight variation from the original EZC. The original one here, as you can see, had the lovely drop point blade. This also has a drop point blade. It's got smudges on it. I keep telling her, you're going to use your knives, which is marvelous, clean them. There we go. But so there are some obvious differences, and we'll get to those in just a minute. Let's do the specs. It is CPM 20CV. It is running on bearings. It is all titanium. These are about $200, $195 when they came out. It is button lock, as you can see, which is fantastic because what that means is that when it's open, see, when this one's open, there's, I guess you could consider this a little bit of a finger stop, but it does kind of get in the way. This is just clean. In fact, what this reminds me of, I very much wish they would do a big version. This is the EZC. The XLC, excuse me. EZC, XLC, right? This one's mine. This is fantastic. It is a top flip, right? They moved the flipper. It's not a front flip, although you can sort of do that. It's not really built for it. What it's built for is you hold it, put your finger right here, and just draw, and it snaps open. It just fires. It's really amazing. The button is recessed just enough that it doesn't get in the way, and the action is fantastic. I hope they make more of these. I really do. My understanding is that they are. They tend to make things in batches, so these came and went super fast. There will be more and probably variations, I hope. Ray, Sanford, if you're listening, more, please. This is an excellent size knife for people that just need a daily carry. So let's talk about what I love about this thing so much. I like neutral handle-shaped knives. I do. I don't mind a little swell at the tail to keep your hand from sliding off and stuff. But, well, let's use this as an example. This is a Para 3 from Spyderco. And no matter where I hold this knife, because of the size of my hands, for instance, it's not terrifically comfortable for me. It just isn't. Now, the Para 3, the PM2, is big enough that it doesn't bother me as much as it might. But this swell here is designed to help you hold the knife, I suppose, but I don't like it. And I never really have. I am a huge fan of knives with just a completely neutral handle, or, and you guys saw this last week, just a little curve, right? That way your hand sits in there and holds on, and, it's not going anywhere, but there's nothing forcing your fingers into where they think your hand should go. The EZC is a little tiny knife that, unlike, for instance, another small knife that is very popular that I can't stand. This is the Rat 2. There is no way for me to hold this knife comfortably, and it just isn't. All these lumps and bumps force me to hold this knife in a way that is never truly comfortable for me. I can use it, but I don't like it. The EZC design, which as you can see is a little even bit smaller, but you get the same amount of cutting, by the way, as the Rat 2 here. Takes away all of that. Anywhere you hold this handle is the right spot. It's just totally neutral, and I really, really enjoy that in a knife. On the XLC, even though it's got the flipper tab out here, right, the rest of the handle is just the same, right? There's no wrong way to hold this knife to work with it, and I love that. That's one of Ray's strengths, and it shows up beautifully here. This thing is gorgeous. Now, I do have to tell you, if you have some of their aftermarket clips, they won't fit. Factory changed this whole spacing just a little bit. They look the same, but they aren't the same, which is a bummer. I'm going to experiment with different screw sizes, but if I hold this up just like this, you can actually see these screws are a little farther apart than this. That wasn't supposed to be that way, and I assume on a later build they will rectify that. This thing is just cool. It just disappears in the pocket. Now, it's a little heavier than its predecessor because it is a line, it's got reasonably thick scales, and it's full tie, so it's a little heavier than its all carbon fiber friend here. But God, what a joy to use. And less than $200, or right at $200. This is fantastic materials. All right, well, let's do the specs, even though you've seen EZCs before. We are looking at just under 2 3/4 of cutting on just under 2 3, just over 2 3/4 of overall blade length. The grip area on this thing, because of the completely neutral handle, comes in at 3 3/4, which, by the way, is a perfect fit for my hand, right? I'm right to this line, which means I can really grip this thing if I need to. And if your hands are even a little bit bigger than mine, which doesn't happen often, but there are out there, it will just fit sort of like that, which is still comfortable. And if your hands are smaller, you got all sorts of room here. What an excellent design. Overall, we're looking at 6 3/4 overall. I just love this design. I love this one too. Women Carry Knives has 4 of these, 3 or 4 of these in different styles. She's got full tie that have been anoded. She's got all sorts of stuff. She loves this thing, and I don't blame her at all. It's really nice. Let's do some visual size comparisons so you guys can see. I'm going to line it up right like that. Since we had it out earlier, here it is against the Para 3, and you can see that they are, dimensionally, like lengthways, not that different, but this is a much bigger knife, obviously. The interesting point is that you get actually a little more cutting up here on the EZC Buttonlock, and it's cheaper than this is right now. Do with that what you will. Let's see. For those of you in the know, since we already had it out, here it is up against the full-size Old Guard from Monterey Bay Knives. Here it is against a PM2. Right. And just for giggles, here it is against our old friend, the Bug Out. Now, the Bug Out is considerably bigger than the EZCs. What do you want in a knife? I prefer the EZC to the Bug Out for daily carry and small knife use. You get a little less blade on the EZC, but the handle is a little thicker. There's a little more weight to it, but not so much that it's distracting. Overall, this is just a much more comfortable knife to hold and use for long periods of time for me than the Bug Out. And I love this thing, don't get me wrong, but I like this better. Let's weigh it. I am curious. Okay, we're going to weigh that. And I do have my calipers, the batteries died, and I just haven't had a chance to replace them yet. I can still give some rough estimates, but nothing too accurate. All right, this thing comes in at 3 ounces even. The old EZC comes in at 2.3, so it's the titanium's just heavier, obviously, than the carbon fiber. It's the same. I think it's the same blade stock. Let's find out. Let's get that out of the way. The blade stock on the OG here is that accurate? Yeah. Yeah. There's really no good way to read that. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, 1, 2, 3, a little over 3 millimeters, right? You can't see that. I don't know. I'm showing it to you. New blade stock is same, just at 3 millimeters. So now where you do get a little bit of heft is through the handle. This comes in at about 12 millimeters through the middle, which is the same as, I think, oh no, these are a little bit narrow. These are 11 millimeters. So it's a little bit thicker than its OG brother here. I'll get the battery fixed, I promise. I'll get a battery for this. If you like this design, and there's no reason why you wouldn't, don't wait when they pop up. Monterey Bay stuff tends to go pretty quick. I do want to point out there's a subtle difference. You can see this is much more of a flat grind. This has a little bit more of a flat this way. There's still high flat grind, but there's some grind variation. These are just cool. Anyway, this is the Monterey Bay Knives EZC Buttonlock, and it is just a fantastic knife. I do want to point out that they're not exactly, we're not going to say they're super deep carried. Here, I'll show you. There's a little bit of knife sticking out, but that shouldn't bug you too much. Doesn't bother me in my pocket, and that's kind of one of the design aesthetics that they hold all the way through their line. Anyway, this is the EZC Buttonlock. This one belongs to Women Carry Knives. Thank you so much for watching today. I've enjoyed sharing this with you. I love stuff like this. Anyway, I'll put a link in the description to Monterey Bay Knives website. Check it out if you'd like. Have a great rest of your day.